someone you love is in pain, whether they're sick or addicted or falling apart, you show up. You show up. You bring the ice chips. You plan the meal train. You make the calls. You stay late. You go without. Because that's what love does, right? But sometimes caregiving, especially when it's constant or codependent or entwined with addiction, often costs more than we realize. It asks for everything, and then it asks for more. This is a story about when a good thing, love, loyalty, care, becomes something else. When helping turns into losing yourself. I'm Kate Bowler, and this is Everything Happens. It's a podcast where we ask what it means to live wisely and love well, even when it costs us more than we expected. Okay, you probably know my guest today from Eat, Pray, Love, or my very favorite book on creativity that's ever been created called Big Magic, or maybe her TED Talk, which has been watched more than 20 million times. Elizabeth Gilbert has written novels and memoirs and essays and stories, and her words have found their way into more than 50 languages. But what I just love about her isn't just her spectacular talent, though yes, she's been a finalist for the National Book Award and the Penn/Hemingway whatnot, but what I love is her honesty. It's honesty about beauty and about grief and what it takes to keep trying to be born in this story of our lives that keeps trying to foreclose us. And her latest memoir, All the Way to the River, is one of those rare books that took me apart because of the way that it tells the truth about all the way through. It's about caregiving and the way that our loves can eat us alive, and addiction, and what it means to walk someone all the way to the edge of life. Liz, I like ate your book up, and then I just fell in love with you all over again. And I have been so excited to talk to you today. Thank you for doing this.
Kate, hi, sweetheart. What
Oh,
a lovely
darling.
introduction. It's so nice to see you.
It's one of the great gifts of reading as a friend and just enjoying watching someone learn. This book is you trying to learn an almost impossible way to re-navigate your own life. So it takes us back to the beginning in a way of this friendship that was absolutely going to transform you. This gorgeous person in your life, Rhea, who you were friends with like years and years before anything romantic began. What did it mean to be loved by her before everything happened?
Oh, what a great first question. So, in the short story version of it is that she was my hairdresser. A friend had a hair intervention for me oh my God, in the year 2000, so
Oh my
25 years ago, in a very different world. And, I just thought she was the coolest because her description of herself was a glamour butch dyke, post-punk, hardcore Syrian American, Detroit raised, Lower East Side forged kind of Aries. She was just formidable and super funny.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, she always just felt absolutely free, which it turns out she wasn't. But in some respects, in respects where I feel trapped and struggling, she was always free. And we were, I think, really attracted to each other as friends because I'm really free in certain areas of her life where she struggled forever. Like creativity for me is like easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like you just do it. You don't have any outcome. Like you can try anything. It'll work or it won't. It doesn't matter if anybody likes it. Like I have this very loose relationship with creativity, which was a realm in which she suffered enormously. But I'm terrified of people, which is kind of maybe not obvious because I'm very sociable, but that's also a trait.
You're truly the most charming person I've ever met.
Well, that has kept me alive in this hell realm filled with people who I'm fucking terrified of. Like
I know what you mean though, because it's when people just see the the like the smile and the attention and the care with which you can pour yourself into other people, it is, I imagine, hard for people to see the like the fear of disappointing them, the uncertainty about what to do, and just to watch someone who's like exciting and socially like terrifying in a wonderful way move through the world. It must have been exciting to see Rhea be herself.
Yeah, it's taken me years to learn how to be even half as honest as Rhea was on her like most dishonest day. Like I like fearless in the face of the truth, fearless in the face of conflict, fearless in the face, like she would sail her teeth straight into the gale of anything that was
Mm.
going on interpersonally and in a relaxed way, you know? And I mean, I can feel a vibe changing in a room and then I
Mhm.
adjust in order to try to control the vibe that's happening in the room that's got me frightened. Rhea would just say like to the person creating the scary vibe, why are you acting like that, dude? Like, what are you like? What's that all about? Like, why are you being a little bitch right now? Why are you making everybody afraid of you? Like, why are you like? She would just like walk right up to a dragon and be like, "Why are you blowing flames at everybody, man? That's fucked up." Like, she was so comfortable with everyone at that level, and I was like, "How are you doing that? Like, how are you terrified of repercussions?" So to be loved by her as a friend, we had a really gorgeous friendship for so many years because we upheld and supported each other in the realms where the other one had real terror and trauma.
Mm.
And, and we helped each other a lot. And then we became closer and closer friends and neighbors and kind of muse and patron inspiration. And we like flipping back and forth between being each other's hero and helping each other out. And as the years and years and years went by, we very secretly fell in love with each other. I mean, secretly even to each other, and especially I would say to ourselves. Like we both knew that this was more than a friendship, but we didn't know what to do about it, so we didn't do anything about it. We both just stayed very quiet until she was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic and liver cancer, and I was told she had 6 months to live, and there was just no way anymore that I could deny that my best friend was the love of my life
Yeah.
in a very different way.
I found it very powerful the way you laid out. It was that lovely quote from someone about the difference between like a public life, a private life, and a secret life.
That's a line from Garcia Marquez. He said, everybody has a public life, a private life, and a secret life. And I remember saying to a really wise older friend of mine, quoting that like 20 years ago to them. And they said, yeah, and the reason we keep our secrets is because if our secret life were to be exposed, our fear is that it would destroy both our private life and our public life. So that made me understand that even better, which is like, I've got this public facing life where it's a lot of superficiality. And then I've got this private life where there are some people around me who I love and care about, who I share intimacy with and vulnerability with. But there are some things that if even they were to know,
Mm-hmm.
if even they were to know what I'm up to, addiction always goes under this category of secret life, until it becomes so messy that it does disrupt both your private and public life. And everybody knows the secret that you're not doing a very good job hiding. I mean, I have beloved friends in recovery programs who managed to keep their alcoholism a secret from their spouses, and their spouses were loving, attentive people.
Yeah.
They had a gambling addiction that nobody knew about. They had a porn addiction that nobody knew about. They were cutting themselves and nobody knew about it. They were having an affair that nobody knew about. Like whatever. Oftentimes, I think the secret life it's the thing that you have to do in order to feel okay, but it is completely unacceptable even to you
Mm.
that you're doing it.
Mm.
And also, I'm a really good compartmentalizer, so I'm the first person I keep a secret from. You know, so I was with Martha Beck recently, and I went over to her house, and she's like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing great. Life is amazing. Everything's awesome." And she said, "You always say that, Liz. When we find out 5 years later that you're in so much trouble." And I'm like, "Well, I also find out 5 years later, Martha. It's
That's a
not,
really funny.
I am not
It's so tragic. It's so true. The things we hide from ourselves. Oh
like,
my
I'm
gosh.
not
And I think
really,
it's
how
one of
am
the
I gonna know how
challenges.
I'm doing?
No.
I'm not disparaging myself or any of us by saying this, as it is, as I know you know, rather a complicated endeavor to learn how to operate one of these things, how to be a human. It's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I just got here. Like, I just got here. I got dropped into this body. I got dropped
Yes.
into this family. I got dropped into this culture. I got dropped into this moment of history, and I am doing my level best. I know that to be true, but lots of times it will take me a long time
Yeah.
after something happens that's really devastating to see like where it began and how it began.
Yes.
I'm not always that in tune. So yeah, so we both were having secret lives. I mean, I was secretly falling in love with her while at the same time being a perfect wife to somebody who I loved very dearly, and just doubling down on being a perfect wife at the same time as having a lot of hidden pain
Mm.
and relying more and more and more on Rhea, to help me with that. And then she had a secret life. She was an addict in recovery who decided that it was totally cool for her to start drinking and that that wasn't a big deal. And she was
No.
going to 12-step meetings for years, in
Oh.
AA meetings, and like qualifying at an AA meeting and like
Oh.
actively drinking at the same time as she's talking about being sober. Like, and she had completely compartmentalized that to where she couldn't even see it and couldn't even see the contradiction of it and the problem of it. So, like many of us, we are many people, and we were carrying a lot of unhealed trauma, um, that attracted us to one another, and that also made us kind of a danger to each other.
I see.
Innocently. I just want
Oh,
to keep using that
no.
word.
I am
Innocent.
with you. I am like with you. I just there's sometimes too we just have this overwhelming desire to live inside of this story that can still make sense. It can make sense of what we've already all the costs we've already paid. We don't want to imagine that the choice we made might be too expensive. I imagine that in leaving your marriage for Rhea, you there it might have been just very tempting to be like, well, I paid this enormous cost to be with this incredible person, and now the story that will come after is in it will always in its own way be a happy ending because we finally got to be together and we love each other. And you, Liz, you could have just written that book and I would have read it and I would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm learning so many things. And you could have hidden the whole rest of it. But
But that's not what really happened. That's the only problem. That's the only problem with that beautiful story you just told, Kate.
I like
It's
that you
just
could just watch me struggle
problem.
to like figure out how, but like that, I do think that's what most people do is they just tell themselves the story over and over again until we all conveniently end. It's the most tempting
Your next
option.
book, please be called Till We All Conveniently End. Oh my God. I love you so much. I love you so much. Oh Lord.
I really like that you were like, but that is not at all what happened.
But that isn't as it turns out, and very inconveniently, that is not what happened because, and boy, did I try to make that be the story. And I really thought that was the story. She'd been told she had 6 months to live, and we had 6 really amazing months together, but she lived for a year and a half. And the last year of her life was not that story. If the doctors had been correct and she had she had lived for 6 months, I would have written this absolutely insufferably beautiful story about how I had the best romance that anybody ever had in the entire world. Um, but I was such
That
a good
you,
cancer partner. I was
yeah,
so good at
totally.
it. Um, until the wheels came off for both of us and then kept coming off. I mean, I don't even want to point to who relapsed completely first.
Mm.
Rhea at that point was a fully unrecovered drug addict and alcoholic who hadn't been going to the rooms for a long, long, long time, hadn't been working on her recovery. And when the fear and the pain of cancer caught up with her, she went right back to the worst iteration of herself, which was a speedball, opioid, and cocaine addict,
Oh,
who wasn't very nice. And I had never known drug addict Rhea. I'd heard stories, which I always thought were kind of funny stories because she was such a great storyteller, and they were like outrageous stories. They were kind of wild stories about a life I'll never know,
yeah.
like living on the streets and hustling and like, just kind of badass stories. But actually, Ray, like when I got to face meet Rhea, the drug addict, like she's an awful monster, like
Uh-huh.
just an awful monster. And then a lot of people who'd known her back in the day were like, oh yeah, we remember that one. Like you never knew that one, but
Yeah.
we certainly did. Her family and friends who had to deal with this just awful monster for so long. And then I simultaneously, or I mean, I would say right in alignment with her, and I descended into the most degraded version of me, which is spineless, enabling, codependent, um, like approval seeking, people pleasing, just nothing, like just a slime mold, like somebody who doesn't even have, like I
Oh,
was so, like, who is so unformed, she's just an earlobe. You know what I mean? Like, just like there's nothing there. There's nobody there. I even look at pictures of myself during that time and I was like, I just truly could have been in the illustration for the Tibetan Book of the Dead of a Hungry Ghost.
uh-huh.
Like starved, emaciated, and gazing upon this kind of chaotic energy field that was Rhea and trying to make it be different than it was, trying to make that thing love me, trying to
Yeah.
make that thing take care of me, and then giving that vampire whatever it wanted
Yeah.
with the hope that maybe I would get a little bit of love back in return. And that's the lowest and most degraded version of me. And it's not the first time I've done it. And it wasn't the last time I did it. That's when I'm in my most damaged self.
Yeah.
That's who I become, or rather who I unbecome. And
Uh-huh.
that became the
That's
true
perfect
story of
language.
what happened for the both of us. That's actually what went down.
When you talk about that, I thought that language is so perfect, like degraded, the like we could be becoming, but now we're unmade. That language of like just not just like unraveled, but like all the parts can no longer hold. That feeling is so much more common than I think we ever talk about. Like I think I would venture to guess that many, perhaps most of us, have been in a situation in which we can't even remember who we were supposed to be because we're so overwhelmed by other people's needs and the desperate desire to like fix it from the outside. I'll give you everything you want and need, and then somehow this part of me will become okay again. And then it never gets built from the outside in, apparently.
A friend of mine calls it bad maths. She's British. She's like, it's just bad maths, Liz. And it's this calculation that a lot of people make. I don't want to say only women do it, but a lot of women do it. And the calculation is, um, if I take every single thing that I have and every single thing that I am and I pour it into you, maybe you'll give me a couple teaspoons of it back.
Yes.
And a great definition of addiction is a bad idea you just keep repeating.
Mm-hmm.
Like this over the centuries and over the millennia is a bad idea that women just keep repeating.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like, I'm going to get love by giving literally every single bit of myself away. That's
Yeah.
my best idea for how to experience the feeling of love, security, and belonging. I'll make sure that every single one of your needs is met and not a single one of mine is. And
Yes.
then depending on how your personality disorders arrange themselves, you either blame them for leaving you empty when you gave it all away, or you blame yourself for
Yeah.
not being lovable enough for them to give it to you. Or
Yes.
you blame your parents, or you blame whatever, or you blame whoever. Like it oftentimes turns into like an enormous amount of rage and blame. Me, that's the logical end point of codependency for me is always blame and rage.
My I grew up with a very depressed dad, and this desire to be pleasable is so, it's so young in me. It's so, and it's so in there, and it's so connected to my great gifts: empathy, the ability to notice, but then, of course, immediately respond and tend and pet and care and overcare, and then become resentful, and then spiral, and then become depleted, and, and
And
then
then
crawl into
reach
a
for
hole.
something, people, places, things, substance behaviors to medicate. And then I once more want to just use the word innocently. I think I
Yeah,
innocent. All of this
yeah.
is innocent. Nobody sets out every day to be like, how can I be the most degraded version of myself? Like it just we do that until we somehow don't.
Yes. Um, as you like explored your own addiction to love and tried to understand your place in the caregiving ecology of Rhea's addiction, it really, really got me thinking about one of the contributions of Alcoholics Anonymous to American spirituality. Is, I mean, it's one of the, it's frankly one of the great American religions, and it's an enormous um, salve to so many who feel broken beyond all repair. But one of the things I really love about it is it gives us a language, like then someone would call, many would call like sin, but it gives us a language of brokenness that still keeps that goodwill underneath it. So when you say like innocently, I love the little flotilla that it puts under people. Like, we are not just trying to break things. We're not just trying to break ourselves. And in fact, much of our own brokenness comes out of this deep desire to love and be loved.
All of it does, I think. And I mean, far from trying to break yourself, you're trying to save yourself. It just breaks my heart with tenderness. I mean, even living with Rhea when she was a full on junkie and seeing, like, observing that all she was ever trying to do was
Mm,
feel okay.
mm,
That's all she was ever trying to do was feel okay and to get the levels right. To
mm.
be like, how much cocaine plus how much fentanyl plus how much alcohol plus how much nicotine plus how much sugar and is going to just get me in that pocket where I am not either spiraling with anxiety or like murderously depressed.
Oh, I
Like,
could just cry
you
hearing
know,
that. That's so right.
all they're trying to do. That's all any addict, and I include myself in the world of addiction. That's all we're trying to do. And as I did my version of that in slow motion, which was to move over the course of 35 uninterrupted years from one person to another partner 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 to another partner, was do exactly the same thing. And I do think that 12 steps is an American religion. I also love that line Richard Rohr says that the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous are America's greatest gift to world spirituality. And I think
Oh,
that's so beautiful because the 12 steps are all based in exactly the opposite of what American culture teaches you. It starts with surrender and powerlessness. It starts with you already
yeah,
lost and you'll never win. And like
yeah.
that theology could only have come from a culture that refuses to ever not win. Like, and that thinks everything can be bought and everything can be world has ever known could have broken itself so badly through its power that the way it had to get well was to say, I have no power. And I also love the gentleness of that program about like, it's the God of your own understanding. Like you are never going to surrender your life and over to a God who is forced on you. You are never going to surrender your life over to somebody else's God. Like this has to be the one that's yours. When I finally was able to like break through to be able to hear that higher power speaking to me, like directly and lovingly to me. One of the things that it said that I just find so dear, that's why I love that
Mm,
God so much, is it said, like, I really believe that there's one thing I can know about my God is that my God loves freedom because my God gave me all the time in the world to try everything to feel
mm,
better. When I finally could hear God, it was like, sweetheart, every one of these is such a good guess,
mm,
such a good guess. And when you're done, trying everything that the world has to offer, come to me.
Mm.
Like my friend, your and my friend Margaret said to me the other day, I just did this 5-day darkness meditation in this cave in Oregon where I spent 4 nights and 5 days completely alone in solitude in pitch dark. Because,
Whoa.
and as I was going into it, Margaret said, "Are you scared?" And I said, "I'm terrified." And she said, "Why don't you just find happiness in external things like a normal person, you idiot?" And I was like, "Margaret, if it worked for me, I would. Like, if it worked for me, if having a family and a partner and a nice job and good things like fed that hole inside of me and kept me okay, then I would do that.
Yeah.
But I can assure you that there is nothing in this world that can reach that vacancy
Yeah.
except God.
Yeah.
That's what I have found. It's the only thing that will calm it down.
The ache.
The ache.
This spirituality situation. I mean, I'm very as you know, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, etc. And one of the things I've loved about being loved by God, it really is in that little. I think surrender has been such a key part of it for me because I am such a trier. I'm such a trier. I don't stop. I will try forever. And it was only when I was very, very sick and absolutely certain that there was no longer any time left to try that I felt the most loved, like the most loved by God.
Oh, Habibi.
Not just like that was so reassuring. Like, oh, so I'm not really well, okay. Well, maybe I'll just I'll simmer down a little bit, guys. Just be loved a little bit more. Because I still,
Be loved is going to be a bumper sticker that I need. Just simmer down and be loved.
and I was still so mad, of course, like just, I just wished I was living in a world. I always wish I'm living in a world that is made up of my certainties. I miss all my certainties. I wish I could fully build the world in which I try really hard and I finally get what I freaking want. and I, and yet.
But Kate, have you tried harder though?
I know.
Because it feels like, I'm just on the outside looking in and I'm just like, I know you're Canadian and not American, but like here in America, we just try harder. So if you could
Oh.
just try a little harder. Oh,
Well,
honey,
when
you
I
are
get that
me.
hard, that's the
You
closest
are.
thing. I like the harder I try, the more I understand despair. It
Yeah.
really it's a wild ratio of desperately wanting to be loved and desperately wanting to be cared for,
Yeah.
and then realizing I have to just unclench my fists.
Can I share with you what happened in the cave?
Yes.
Like how you leaned in.
Very much.
So this place in Oregon called Sky Cave Retreats, and they if you pay the money, they'll throw you in a dark hole for 5 days.
Genius.
And Margaret is like the anchor in my life. She's like, "You're such an idiot. You're such a." She's like, "Give me the money, I'll throw you in a dark closet for 5 days." I'm
Find
like,
a
"It's not
well.
the same. It's not the same." It's actually really beautiful. They've created. They're like it almost looks like a hobbit house, but like they dig these little like like holes into this mountain, and you go in there. I mean, you can leave at any time. The door opens from the inside,
Wait,
but
like early monastics. Like they'll
yes,
dig it in the side of a mountain.
yes, and you go live in the earth. And which of course I've always been deeply attracted to and have always wanted to do. So I'm like, oh, I can pretend I'm an early desert father or mother from the second
Yes.
century of Egypt, living in a cave in a hollow in the woods. This is what I've always wanted. So God's like, go ahead and try it.
Amazing.
and and it's pitch, but this thing is pitch. The thing is not so much the cave as the darkness. It's like more like going into a tomb. Um, And when that door shuts, there's not a scrap of light.
I guess I
And
pictured you were wearing a blindfold, but no, you were just actually in utter darkness.
utter darkness. You can't. And when I went in for the first time, the facilitator said, when the door shut and they were showing it to me, he said, "Your eyes will never adjust to this. There's not a time. There's no light in here. So your eyes can try and think that they are going to be able to find something, and they can't." Um, and then once a day, they bring you food through a black box on the wall, and the rest of the time, you're in absolute silence because you also can't hear nature because you're underground, so you can't hear bird song. There's no way to track time, and there's no way to track space. And I chose to do that for 5 days.
Holy crap. Is there a way to track bugs? Because can your hands go everywhere without being scared?
Well, there's no way to know if there's a
No,
spider.
thank
Like,
you.
there's no way to know, right? Like, there's no way to know anything. And so for the year that I was leading up to this, I kept asking every night when I went to bed or when I was meditating, I'd be picturing myself in there, and I would say to God, "How are we going to do this?"
Hmm.
Um, and and God would reiterate, "This is one of the things that you came to Earth to do, and I'm going to be with you the entire time. And there are treasures for you in there that can't be found any other way. And I'm going to be right with you." And I like the dark, and I like enclosed spaces, and I don't have claustrophobia, and I meditate a lot, and I live alone, and I have a deep connection to my higher power. Like I was like, I'm going to be very good. I'm going to be excellent at this. Um, and that door shut, and I realized it wasn't going to open for another 100 hours. And my body went into this like atavistic primal terror response.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, whoa, what's happening, body? And my mind went into this like just wild horses crazy. And I heard God say, just let the wild horses run. Like, let the wild horses run. Just like, let it run out. Like, whatever your mind is doing, whatever your body is doing. Cause I was like, panic, panic, panic. And thoughts, thoughts, thoughts. My head was like a pinball machine. And then at one point, I guess like 2 hours in, um, a thought arose, which was, what if God isn't real?
Mm.
What if God isn't real? What if God doesn't exist? What if this beautiful, the most beautiful relationship I've ever had in my life with this higher power who loves me so tenderly and intimately, and who I love, and who guides me, and who has gotten me sober and brought serenity into my life, and this daily communion that I have with that force and that love, what if that is just my imagination
Mm.
and there's nothing? And there actually is only void. There's only void. There's only blackness and void. There's nothing in the universe. That we are alone. Like, oh my God. And the existential horror is the only word I can describe is what that thought did to me, is that I like panicked horror. And instantly I felt God show up
Mm.
and scoop me, like just scooped me right out of that thought and just said, "Okay, honey, that's a bridge too far." That was exactly what I heard God say. Like, you remember I said, let the wild horses run and let the mind do whatever the mind is going to do.
Yeah.
This is the one thought that I am not going to let you have, because first of all, it isn't true. And secondly, you'll die in here
Yeah.
if you don't know that I'm here with you. And not only that, you'll die out there if you don't know that I'm here with you. So
Yeah.
I don't need you to believe in me because I need you to worship me. You need this or you're not going to be all right. And I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm literally talking to you right now. And I'm going to be with you every single minute of that, of this experience. Just ask for me and I'll guide you and I'll tell you moment by moment what to do. And for those 5 days, that's what happened, was that moment by moment, there would be this guidance that just said, okay, now meditate. Okay, now sing, now pray. Now do metta loving kindness prayer meditations for other people. Now go through the alphabet and see if you can name a song that begins with each letter of the alphabet. What's the song you're singing? Now do yoga.
Now remember old television shows that you
I
never
was it
forgot.
was just like God was managing my experience for me. In the
Nice.
cave, we are really not alone. Like, even if you go into the darkety dark, 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 where there's absolutely nothing, there's so much. Like, this is a very crowded universe. Like, there are angels, there are ancestors, there are saints, there are spirits, there are guides, there's God, I'm like, we are covered, like something is with us through this whole entire journey. Anyway, it was such a great thing to find
I
out.
love you.
And since that I came out of there, I do feel this like deeper sense of self-confidence that's like just like a relaxed self-confidence. Like you're so supported, Lizzie.
Yes. Yes.
You know, like you're really not on your own here. Like
Yes.
really not.
Like you finally reached the edges of what could be and found that it was still bubble wrapped somehow. Really, it really reminds me of
Oh,
there's that series of speeches that Job's friends are giving him where like they're trying to undo every promise he could ever have from God, that you won't have this and you won't have that and you'll never have, and everything in your life is proof that you're not loved, that you're punished, that you're, and like the one like, and you can never strip it down, which I've always loved, is like, but you will never, but God will never withhold God's presence from us. And like I've given up on a lot of like needing things to go my own way, but that one truth, I feel more certain of that than I ever did before, because I know God loves, the brokenhearted. I know God never actually leaves us. And it's so beautiful to think of you feeling around in the dark and being scooped up by the God who's very determined that you know that you're never alone.
that's the one thought that's not gonna fly here. You know, like because it isn't true. Like
When you were taking care of Rhea in the last months of her life, it really confronted this view that you had of yourself as being a really loving and caring provider. And then
I
someone
think
else came along.
saintly is the word that I would use to describe
I would
myself.
prefer. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, just
Noted.
so we're all using
Noted.
we're all using the same lingo. You can just go ahead and say the saintly image that I have of myself. Yeah. Go on.
You did. You had this story where someone else was doing possibly a better job taking care of Rhea as she was very sick, and that she was, what was it? That she was an angel, and you were like,
Rhea said to me, "Oh, it's even worse than that because it was her ex-girlfriend, who I love, who is incredible, but who at that time I didn't know very well, and was like, wait, what? Because we had fallen out because of all the drugs, and she'd gone back to Detroit and had gone to essentially had called her ex-girlfriend from 20 years earlier and said like, I'm a wreck. I need to get clean. I need help. Can I come and stay with you? And Stacy said yes, and then set a whole bunch of boundaries that I never thought to do, and was like, "Here's the rules. Like I get all the as soon as you walk in the door, you give me all the drugs. They're going down the toilet. Like I'm taking your phone. I'm taking your, like all this stuff that I'm like, how? What? What's this thing called a boundary?" And she got in Stacy's house. She got off all of those drugs that she was on. Astonishingly, as a hospice patient who really had no reason to get clean. I mean, she might as well, she was dying anyway, so she could have just died of drug addiction, but she turned it around, and Stacy took such incredible care of her. And I was over back home in New York, like having a post codependency bender meltdown
yeah,
because like the person I'd given up my whole entire life for was in a different state being taken care of by someone else, and I hadn't taken the slightest bit of care of myself, and I was a wreck. And at one point I called Maria calls after she got clean. She calls and she's all cheerful. Like I'm like, you just put me through hell. You just put me through hell. And she's having a great time. She's feeling great. And she calls me and she's like, hey babe, I really wish that you would come out here to Detroit. And like, I really want you to get to know Stacy better, man. She's so awesome. She's such an angel. And I like Chernobyl. I Chernobyl to my inner, the rage. And this is what I'm saying about how the end game for me of codependency is always rage. And this was it. This was like peak rage. I was like I wanted like, it took every bit of control in the world to not scream at my hospice patient. I'm the fucking angel around here. She's not the angel. I'm the angel. I'm the fucking angel. Like I was so
Real.
angry. And it was this fantastic moment where God just came in and just gathered me and just invited me to surrender. And then said in my ear, if you ever are in a situation in your life where you are on the verge of howling at someone that you are the fucking angel around here, there's a slight to moderate possibility that you aren't. And you might actually have become somebody who needs an angel just for today. That angel's name might be Stacy, because Stacy took an unsolvable problem off your hands and is solving it. And that's what angels do. Like you were in an unsolvable crisis with Rhea, and Stacy has taken it and she's fixing it. And that's what an angel does. So actually, just be grateful that there's an angel around, and you don't have to be it, you know. And it was so humbling and so, but like all moments of true surrender, just like such a relief. Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
another angel. I don't have to do this.
Well, you know, that's so funny because the just even the word humble, because my attempts at like love slash control usually end up in this sort of feeling of like humiliation
It's a
for
good
both
word.
of us. And so I love that you're
Both
like,
of us.
the person I'm quote unquote helping.
Oh my God. You know
So
that line? I think I have a line of that in Big Magic. You can always tell people who live for others by the
the
faces of
exhausted
anguish,
look on other people's
faces
faces.
of the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh God. Anyway, so humiliation is maybe the last stop before surrender
Yeah.
on the surrender highway. It's like, okay, I'm officially so humiliated now. I
Yes.
can just maybe stop doing this.
But I love that you're just it sounds like there's more and more space like in your spirituality for like in your heart for like freedom for yourself and then freedom for others. Like, God, you love them too. God, you care for all. God, you love the lilies of this stupid field, even when I'm not farming. Like, I love
They're
all of
mine.
it.
It's my field.
It's my field, my
And,
lilies.
and I am spinning and toiling for those lilies.
I'm pretty sure I invented birds.
Who do you think planted those lily bulbs? You think they just planted themselves, God?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I just love it. You know, I've been trying to be less clenchy, and whatnot. I've been thinking a lot about joy. And so this just made me want to ask you before we go, what is what is experiencing joy like for you lately?
I'm going to show you because she's right here. Nah, oh, you kidding? Although I do love cats. This is Pepita.
Oh, she's a star.
She's my best. She's my best friend. She's my best friend.
Oh my god.
She was my reward for writing this book. At the last line of the book is God saying, like, you can go get a dog now, and practice loving practice loving and being responsible. And that's what we're doing. We're just our job. We just love each other, and there's nothing better than this.
Liz, I am
I know.
so happy for you.
Thank
You've
you.
dug your way through the tar pit, and on the other side, there's a lot of peace. And there's too many caves, but there's a lot of joy and freedom that I see all over you. And
Aw.
it just fills my heart with happiness.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Nobody wants to go into the cave and nobody wants to dig through the sewer, but
Yes.
there really is treasure in there. Like when God said, like, I want you to go into that darkness because there's treasure in there for you. That's why I love being in 12-step meetings so much, because it's rooms filled with people who have reached the end of their power.
Yeah.
And they're in so much joy. The ones who have actually surrendered to being at the end of their power are in so much joy. And the ones who are still trying to hold on are like, just look like what I've looked like most of my life when I look in the mirror at 3 a.m. But right now, just for today, it's a good day.
Yes. Yeah. And
Mm.
Hannah, it's a good day for me. It's so good to see you. We don't want to tell the truth about caring for other people. I just think that has to be said from the outset. It's hard to talk about what it feels to give and give and give, even to good things, but then become someone else's lifeline and realize that you've lost your own. Like, hey, look at me loving you. Wait, isn't everyone feeling my love? Where's my parade? My thank you edible arrangement? Why is this whole thing cantaloupe? So, if you're someone who has loved way past your limit, if you're someone who's lost yourself in someone else's needs, if you've ever confused devotion with disappearance, this is a blessing for you. Blessed are you when love costs more than you knew to count. For the ones who thought, isn't everyone feeling my love? Where is my thank you note? Where is my sainthood? For the ones who confused selflessness with erasure, who gave and gave and gave until someone else was the only thing left standing. Barely. May you have permission to be a person too, to rest, to refuse, to want something back. May you remember the steady, never-ending presence of a God who will scoop you up and remind you you are loved, not because you earned it, not because you were good enough or selfless enough, but because you are already, always, still beloved. Well, my loves, it was so good having you here. And hey, if you watch this on YouTube, you might have noticed I'm wearing a sweatshirt. It says everything happens. That's right. We made merch. It's okay, like this is my first time making merch and I really love them. It's like crew necks and dad hats and sticker packs and a t-shirt that says Small Talk Survivor, which is frankly my best joke. And it's just for anyone who's tired of talking about the weather. I like to imagine all of us just spotting each other at the grocery store being like, you too. If you want to wear a little more honesty on your sleeve, literally, then you can find all these things at katebuller.com. And hey, as always, I am over at Substack, where, thanks to Liz, I got very interested in the history of Alcoholics Anonymous as one of America's great religious contributions. So I wrote this essay about what it means, like what spiritual lessons we learn from surrender and what language really that we're all looking for. So I would love to hear from you. The comments are my very favorite part because this is truly the nicest place on the internet. So we're hanging out at katebuller.substack.com. And before I go, if you would leave us a review, this is my do you mind leaving us a review voice on Apple or Spotify. It would help so much. The algorithm overlords would smile. They would smile upon us and favor us mightily. Everything happens here at Everything Happens with help from really special people. From Jessica Ritchie, Harriet Putman, Keith Weston, Anne Herring, Haley DeRitt, Megan Crunkleton, Anna Fitzgerald Peterson, Eliza Zaneo, and Catherine Smith. This is Everything Happens with me, Kate Bowler.